Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing something a little bit different and having a look at a bit of a meme-ish type strategy. We're looking at a normal monster Pacifist Phantasm City deck. How this basically works is this field spell is really cool. Basically every single time your opponent uses a card effect while you don't control a token, you get to special summon a token off of this card. So basically, if you don't have a token here, or if you get rid of it or for whatever reason, you can special summon a token to the field. It's level 8, 2000 attack and defense, non-effect. If you special summon a non-effect monster to your field, then you get to search your deck for a Phantasm spell or trap card. The token counts, so you get to search off of that. So this helps you, the field spell here, it summons out tokens and it helps search your deck for spells or traps. So basically what this is a deck of hand traps. We're playing 9 hand traps now. Looking at it, you're seeing 3 maxi. Where's the other 6 hand traps? That's these. So Phantasm Spiral Power, Phantasm Spiral Battle. So the way these work is Spiral Battle will pop an opponent's card and Spiral Power will negate a monster effect, and they can be used from the hand if you control a normal monster and Umi on the field, and Pacifist treats its name as Umi. So that means you can basically activate these cards from your hand whenever you want, which is insane. And again, the token is a non-effect monster, therefore setting up your plays. So not only does it search for the trap card, it also sets up the activation conditions to use it. So what is the rest of the deck then? So the rest of the deck is pretty much built around this. We're playing lots of consistency cards to try and draw into it. So we're playing double pot of Duality, double pot of Extravagance, double pot of Prosperity. We're running 3 Planet Pathfinder and Terraforming. So basically we're trying to run as many different ways of getting the field spell as possible. We're also running Max C, which if you're going second, again helps you draw into it because all of these cards are available from hand. While you do want to go first to try and set up some other traps, Max C really helps you sort of cope with going second. So what else then are we running? So this search here can be activated by any non-effect monster being special summoned to the field, I believe, so long as it's a water monster. I'm not even entirely sure if it has to be. No, it doesn't even have to be a water monster. So what we're doing is we're using the Megalo Smasher X because 1, it's a water non-effect monster. So when you normal summon it, it'll trigger the Pacifist to search. It also satisfies the conditions for the traps to be used from the hand. And you can special summon it from the deck with Unexpected Die, which adds a lot more sort of consistency and power to the deck. We are using Double Call by the Grave. These can be whatever you want. I initially was running Ash. I tried out Crossout Designator. I tried out a few things in this spot. I think Call by the Grave was fine, purely to stop your opponent from interrupting your searches for the field spell. That was it. This is almost entirely here for Ash. You don't really care about Max E. You're special summoning twice per turn maximum. So you don't care about Max E too much. You don't care about most hand traps. Veiler does nothing. Imperm does nothing. So you're not really worried about all of those. It's almost here entirely for Ash, and thus you can replace it with whatever you want. You're running 1 Solemn Judgment. Again, don't have to be doing this, but it's good protection from, Harpy's Feather Duster, anything like that. Here we're running Fists of the Unrivaled Tinyi. It's basically a Solemn Judgment if you control a non-effect monster, which is your tokens or your Megalo Smasher. Just whenever a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, negate it. So very, very good. Skill drain, because it's a meme strategy, we might as well just commit to it, stop them from using effects. You'll see this come up a good bit. And the final piece of the puzzle then, C Stealth Attack. This is a really strong card. So it has 2 main effects. 1, you can banish a water monster from your field until the end of the turn, and that protects all of your face-up spells and traps for the rest of the turn from destruction. So they can't destroy your field spell, they can't destroy a C Stealth Attack, anything like that. All you need to do is banish a water monster, and this token summoning is not once per turn. If you banish a token to use that protection effect, you can simply re-summon another token the next time your opponent activates an effect. It summons infinitely. The only condition is you can't have a token on field. That's it. So that's what makes it so crazy. And the second effect is if your opponent battles into a level 5 or higher water monster, they're automatically destroyed. And the tokens are level 8. So it sets up perfectly with your C Stealth Attack. The extra deck is purely here to be banished off of the Extravagance Prosperity. This can be 17 Flaming Mans for all we care. But yes, that's the sort of breakdown of the deck then. I guess we're not really going to need to revisit it too much, maybe a couple of other options towards the end of the video, but that is the gist of how the deck works. Now we're going to show a lot of sort of interesting games here, not a lot of meta relevant stuff, because that's not what we're trying to do with this deck. It can beat a lot of strategies, and we do have one where it does, but we want sort of more of the fun ones here. So I've got 3 games lined up. It's only 3 because one of them is really, it's a bit on the longer side, but it's a really good game with a fantastic ending. That's going to be the last game. So we're dive right in then to game number 1. Alright, getting into game number 1, so we're going to open up with the field spell and Pot of Duality. So Pot of Duality, we're going to look at the top 3 cards of our deck, and we're going to pick one. We're going to grab the Omni Negate Trap card there. We'll summon the Megalo Smasher, which will search our deck for one of the Spiral cards. We already have the pops, we're going to search the Negate, and then we'll set one face down and pass. This doesn't look like much, but we have 3 interruptions here just as it is. We're going up against Tingy's Sword Soul, so again, top meta deck. He activates an effect, so we get our token out of the field, and when the token is summoned, we get to search our deck for another Spiral card. He uses Max C for some reason. I don't know if he was trying to bait me or if he thought I was doing more plays. So we're going to grab a second copy of the battle, because I know that's going to be very strong against this deck in particular. We want rid of that Monk of the Tenyu right away, because we don't want it, the Vishuda returning us to the hand. We're going to use Spiral Power here. We're going to negate the Moe before he can summon his token. We're just trying to stop him from building momentum. We need to sort of keep him locked down, keep him restricted. He goes for Fusion Destiny. We activate Fists of the Unrivaled Tenyu. We're just negating everything. He's not getting a single play off here. He's really struggling. So we get to negate the Fusion Destiny too. He sets one, passes, and in the end phase we pop the face down. These traps are not once per turn, and they can target face down cards. So it was a droplet, which we don't really care too much about. A little bit unfortunate, but it's fine. We normal summon the Pathfinder purely because we want an additional 1000 damage on board, and we've already got the field spell, so it's fine. So we just swing in, do a bunch of damage, pass turn. He's going to normal summon. He top decked into the Moe. We knew he had the tie in hand from the last turn, so he top decked into the Moe there. So as soon as he does, we're just going to flip up the skill drain. We don't want to getting that token because again, the Sword Soul token counts as a non-effect monster, and as soon as he has that, he can bounce one of our cards with his Vishuda. We don't want that, so he's going to swing into the Pathfinder. We don't really care about that. That's fine. The games, whenever you're using this deck, because you don't have a load of attack points on board, you're mainly controlling, it does take a little bit longer to press for lethal, so we're just going to start swinging, start getting rid of some of his life points here, doing some lethal damage. We're setting ourselves up. It's almost game here, but he rips into Sword Soul Emergence. He gets the Long Wand. That is the only card that could have helped him because it activates in the hand and is thus unaffected by skill drain. So we're going to activate Maxi here. We need to get as many cards off of this as we possibly can. So now that it activates in hand, he summons it and he summons a token, so we draw 2, and now he gets to use the Vishuda in the graveyard to bounce the skill drain back to our hand. That's why that was the best possible card he could have gotten. He goes in the Baron de Fleur, but he messes up. He actually negates his Long Wand. That eats up the negate off the Baron de Fleur, so he can't use it on anything else. Now, I'm going to cover in a minute why that wouldn't have mattered, but he pops our field spell, he swings in the Megalo Smasher, sorry, that's fine. So his Baron doesn't have a negate, which is perfect. So moving into our turn, we top deck in the Pot of Prosperity, but we already have the field spell. We activate it, we grab Terraforming to grab another copy of the field spell. So we're going to use Pot of Prosperity as well. We just want to get as many cards as we possibly can. Check the top 6 here. What are we seeing? We're seeing the Trap, the Spiral Power, I believe we're going to grab. Yes, Spiral Battle, sorry. We set 2. We don't need to take care of that Baron de Fleur right away, because even if we did, we wouldn't have lethal on board. I'd rather save it. He's going to try and bounce back Baron de Fleur here to summon the Taya. We don't allow that to happen. We use Skill Drain to keep the Baron de Fleur on the field because it's currently useless, and we don't want that Taya doing anything potentially useful. So we also flip up our C Stealth Attack, which doesn't do anything at the moment. He didn't read C Stealth Attack. He swings in the R token, and he gets popped automatically by the C Stealth Attack because it's a level 8 token. You can't swing into it. It will destroy anything it battles automatically. We swing in here for 2k to the face, and he decides enough is enough. He's going to go on and play another game. So that's perfect. Now, coming back to the Baron de Fleur misplay. Yes, it is unfortunate that he misplayed and negated his own card. Did it matter? No, because one of 2 things would have happened. He would have A, negated the field spell activation, our second field spell, We had 2, so it wouldn't have mattered. He would have eaten up his negate on that, or he would have allowed that to go through. During the next turn, we then would have used skill drain, which he would have had to negate, and if he did that, then we would have simply used C stealth attack then as a backup option, and just one from there. It would not have been very different. So while yes, on the surface it looked quite detrimental, it honestly did not even matter, because regardless of what he had summoned, we had the spiral power as well in hand, so we would have been able to pop the Taya. If he decided to summon the Taya, we would have been able to pop it anyway. So no, it wouldn't have mattered. He was well and truly beaten. So that's proof there that the deck can hold its own against meta strategies, against, you know, one of the top decks in the game there with Sword Souls. Let's move on then to game number 2, which is a much sort of more interesting game against a very interesting opponent. So let's get that rolling. Alright, game number 2 here. So we've got a pretty good hand, but we don't unfortunately have the field spell. So this is going to be a demonstration of how the deck sort of functions without it, and it does struggle a little bit. He does max see us here on the unexpected die, but that's fine. He can draw 1. We set 3 cards and pass. Yes, these cards can be used from hand if you have Umi on the field, but if you don't have it, you can just set them and they work just the same. So he rips Power Bond. He starts with Power Bond right off the bat here. I was thinking to myself, this man's going to summon Cyber End Dragon for God's sake, but no. He uses 3 monsters and goes into the Rampage Dragon, which was a much more sensible play. He goes to target 3 of our cards to destroy them. He uses the hers as well. We're going to use the Spiral Power to negate that Rampage Dragon, so that means that his attack gets reduced by 1,000 as well. He doesn't pop our back row, and he can't send the Saber Dragons from deck to grave to attack multiple times. So that's fine. That's no longer really a threat to us. He summons the Saber Dragon core. We negate that. He's only got 2 cards left in the hand, so my perspective here is I don't want him to add anything that would be potentially useful. The chances of those 2 cards being anything game-changing is somewhat slim, considering the Power Bomb play right off the bat. He summons Almirage, and then he activates Overload Fusion, and at this point I realize that, okay, he got me. I have been officially snookered here. He tries to go, he goes to destroy our Spiral Battle. We activate it, but he has the Almirage. He's simply going to protect his own Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. So at this point, he has just over 7,000 damage on board, so we are going to survive this turn. We do have enough life points, except he also has Raigeki. So he opened Power Bond, Raigeki, Overload Fusion, and enough Cyber Dragons to make the whole rotation work. So yes, this was an L, which is unfortunate, but I felt like that was just such a legendary turn for the Cyber Dragon player that it would have been a shame not to include it. But yeah, no, it shows that the deck doesn't necessarily need the field spell, but it does help a lot. It really, really does. That would have been a very different game if we had the field spell, but no, that's fine. That's game number 2, so it is a very, very quick one, only 2 turns long. Any game that you win typically takes a lot longer than 2 turns, so that's fine. We'll take a quick L here, and we'll move on to game number 3, which is a bit of a longer one, and the ending, I was jumping out of my seat at the ending. It was just the coolest thing. So we're going to skip ahead then and get on to duel number 3. Alright, duel number 3, we're going first here, which is good. We're going to open up with our Pot of Extravagance, banish 6 random extra deck cards to draw 2. We drain the Terraforming, which is okay. We already had the Planet Pathfinder, so it didn't matter too much. We activate the field spell, we use Unexpected Die to grab our Megalomasher X, which will allow us to grab the Spiral Battle from the deck. Then we set our Judgment and we pass. We have the Battle in hand, we have the Omni Negate on the field, we have Maxi. Now this was a crazy battle phase, so he goes from Shadow Mist straight into Dark Law. Now before he can do anything fancy with Dark Law, he activates Shadow Mist. We decide to pass on the field spell so we can Ash the Shadow Mist. Then we use Spiral Battle to get rid of that Dark Law before it can do anything funny. But he has a second mask change, so he's going to mask change onto the Dark Law that's on the field again to protect it from the Spiral Battle. So he summons a second Dark Law. So everything resolves here, the Shadow Mist gets negated. Then we get our Field Spell proc. Field Spell will summon a token out of the field, and because of that it will grab another Spiral Battle straight from the deck. He goes to activate his effect to banish a card from hand because we added one to hand. So we're going to chain then the Spiral Battle to get rid of Dark Law, but he chains Super Polymerization, so he does. This is no one's even declared an attack yet, and this has been the longest phase of the game. So he's going to use both of our monsters for the Mud Dragon of the Swamp, and then we're going to pop the Dark Law. I think that was a small misplay from him. I don't think he knew how the field spell works. It is not once per turn, so we simply grab another token. So that shows, that's a great sort of display of why the not once per turn matters so much. So we're just going to go straight in the battle phase, straight in the swing, take out his Mud Dragon. We don't have anything else to play at the moment, so we're just going to pass turn. Give it to him. We still have the Judgment set, but he has nothing. He realizes that, you know, we only have the one card, so it's not that big a deal. We set our Sea Stealth attack, and this we sort of misplayed there because he goes for the evenly matched. We have to Judgment the evenly matched because we can't really risk losing the Sea Stealth attack. We really should have swung first and then afterwards set the Sea Stealth attack to avoid evenly matched, but at this stage I wasn't even thinking about that being a possibility, so small misplay there from ourselves. But yeah, we get our damage across the line. We still have our Sea Stealth attack. He passes again, and now I'm aware that he's playing evenly matched. I'm going to be a little bit more cautious of it, so we go for Pot of Duality here. We're going to check the top 3 of our deck. We show Unexpected Die and 2 Sea Stealth attack, so that's a very easy decision. We grab the second one to hand. We're not going to use it, but we are going to swing twice there with our monsters, and we're just trying to finish the game as quickly as we can here. We're going to keep this Sea Stealth attack in hand just in case he has another evenly matched. So moving then into turn number 9. We're already at turn 9. We have the Spiral Power now in hand, so that's great. That gives us a negate whenever we want. We swing in. His life points are now at 1900. That is lethal range for any of our water monsters. So he's in a lot of trouble right now. He was in the battle phase and then resolves another evenly matched. And I made a mistake here. I thought that I would be able to banish the token and keep the field spell up, but I didn't realize that you can't banish the token off of evenly matched because it's technically not a card. So I had to get rid of the field spell to keep it there, but luckily we have another one in our hand. It's not a massive setback, so we activate it. We use our Pot of Prosperity to see what we can fish out, banishing the top 6. To look at the top 6, what are we going to grab here? Probably the Negate or Skill Drain. Okay, yeah, we grab the Spiral Power. I believe I should have grabbed the Spiral Battle. I think I misclicked, and that is going to come up. So we destroy the Shadow Mist. He grabs the Stratos to hand. We don't really care too much about that. He's going to summon out Solid Soldier, so we're going to burn the first of our Spiral Powers here. We don't want him summoning out a Stratos then off the back of that. Just, you know, to extend his plays even further. That wouldn't be good for us. So he then sets one and passes. Draw a phase. We're at turn 13, by the way. We're going to swing into his Solid Soldier. Opponent's getting very, very dangerously low. 250 life points left. Moving into turn 14, draw, summon the Stratos here. He's going to use it to search for a hero. We're not going to allow that to happen. We need to keep his resources low so we can try and push for lethal, but he has the mask change. So he's going to basically tag out his Stratos here for a masked hero blast. So our Spiral Power has no target. His Stratos then resolves. He grabs the Dust Gold. The masked hero here is going to have the attack points of our Spiral token, but if you notice, he can't bounce our field spell because he only has 250 life points. He can't pay the 500 life point cost for Blast. So he's going to use Dark Calling next to summon out Evil Hero Malicious Being here. He's going to use the Malicious Being to pop the Spiral token, but it's fine because it simply summons another token and gives us the Spiral Battle. So we don't care too much about that. He swings in with the Malicious Being. We figure here that we sort of have to do something. We use the Spiral Battle to pop the Blast because he's going to try and push in with lethal on the Blast. I didn't want to risk that being another extender of some description. Like if it was another Super Poly, another Mass Change, something, I couldn't really risk any of that. So we're at turn 16 here. We simply set our Pathfinder. We're just trying to wait. Need him to activate an effect so we can grab a token, which we do, which is excellent. Then we're going to... I believe I misclicked here, so that's going to equip onto our monster. You banish that from the graveyard, you can equip the equip spell Phantasm Spiral Grip onto it. It doesn't really do anything in this situation. I didn't even realize that was an effect, but we grab then the Spiral Power from the deck. The Malicious Being destroys our token again, but we simply resummon it. It doesn't destroy our Pathfinder because it's face down. He swings into the face down monster here, then he passes turn. So what our objective here is, we're going to be using the Spiral Power to negate the effect of the Being, then we can use Sea Stealth attack to swing into it. But I actually misplay here. I forgot that it's only level 5 and higher, so we don't actually We shouldn't have used the C stealth attack there. That really screwed us over. So that was my misplay on that occasion there. We should have just used the spiral power and swung. C stealth attack would have took out the malicious BM because its effect would have been negated, no longer invulnerable to card effects. So he's going to search for down attack here off of his Stratos, and in my brain he's just running out of resources. But that's not actually what's happening. So moving into turn 19 here, we just need to get some damage across the board. We banish the trap from our grave. I think to myself, this is it, our opportunity for lethal. We boost up our attack by 500, we swing, he activates down attack. I forgot it had an effect in hand. We both take 1,000 damage. And that's enough to finish both of us off. I was at 800, he was at 250. So after that long drawn out game, it ends in a draw, which was one of the most fitting ends that I could have asked for. It is such a massive game. It was an absolute slugfest between two of the most fun decks on the ladder right now. This sort of meme water deck, and then Heroes. A very interesting build for Heroes, especially after that turn 1 battle phase being so hectic. But no, mad props to our opponent there. He played supremely well. It probably would have been my game if I didn't make that misplay turn 17. But what can you do? Here we are. So no, that's fantastic game there. Game number 3 was amazing. We're going to cut that as the last game because it was a bit of a longer one. So we're going to skip now back into the deck profile and just we're going to explore some of the options you can use if you are a little bit more free to play and you want to maybe duck out on some of the SRs or even URs that we're using in the deck. They are not necessary, so we'll cover off a couple of other popular options you can use. So on with the deck profile. Alrighty, so coming on back to the deck profile then. So yes, we've already talked about this version of the deck. This is how I have been playing it. I think it's potentially better, you know, with all of these extra draw cards. It just makes it feel a little bit more consistent to me. But we've already been over this version of it. If you want to make this a lot more free-to-play friendly, then there are some alterations you can make. Now, Unexpected Die, yes, it's an SR, but it's free-to-play. You get it in the starter deck. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the SRs. Skill Drain is also extremely useful, but again, if you don't have it, don't use it. So this is bringing it down to basically free-to-play cards. Now, what do you do to fill it in from here? So there are a few Pacifist, the Phantasm City related cards that we don't use. So for example, we can use Phantasm Spiral Grip in combination with the actual Phantasm Spiral Dragon. So what that basically does is you would equip the equip spell. It was actually in one of the games though that we did use. We didn't resolve the effect, but we were testing it initially towards the start. We took it out because it was a bit bricky. But what you would do is you would equip this onto a monster. If that monster destroys another monster by battle, you summon this guy from the deck and then equip this to him. So he goes up to 3400 attack, which is really cool. You know, you get an extra monster on board. He's pretty huge. So that was neat. You can also banish the Spiral Power from the graveyard to equip the Spiral Grip onto one of your monsters from the hand or graveyard whenever you wanted. So you didn't have to rely necessarily on drawing it and activating it. So that's perfect. And then apart from this, there's a whole bunch of just free-to-play cards you can just stuff in here, just according to what you have available to you. If you want to, you know, potentially, we struggled a little bit with an Eldritch matchup. So if you want to go for something a little bit simpler, if you want to go MST to counter Eldritch, by all means. There are tons and tons of options. There was a few other wee ones here. If you want to keep it sort of pure and maybe a little bit more fun, there are plenty here. Rejuve, whatever that says, is one that caught my eye in particular. So you can target monsters your opponent controls up to the number of water monsters you control that are level 5 or higher and destroy them. So if you're playing these Phantasm Spiral Dragon, that can be 2 monsters and 2 zones of theirs that are not usable. So that's definitely something that could be played. Under normal circumstances, it'll just be 1 monster, but even that's still pretty good. You have the other equipped spells you could potentially play, you know, if you wanted to play one of each to mix it up. You have all of these other trap cards, Tornado Wall if you want to be even more gimmicky. So there are plenty of options. From here, you basically just fill it up. As long as you're not putting effect monsters in there, you can put in literally whatever you want. So yeah, it's fairly straightforward. You just want to pack it in with whatever you've got available. I have my version of it with all of the additional draw power. If you are going to be putting any sort of SRs or URs into this, Max C is going to be huge, as well as Pot of Prosperity. Those are the 2 biggest ones that you want to put in there, and then potentially the Skill Drain. Skill Drain is pretty crazy. But yeah, You can basically do whatever you want with it from the spells and traps perspective. The main thing that you need to include will be Pacifist, your Pathfinder, Megalomasher, the Spiral, Battle, and Power are the best traps to be using off of the effect, so you definitely want to be including them, and then potentially the Unexpected Die if that suits you. Everything else is completely optional. You build it however you want and just sort of take it from there. But yeah, that's my take on the deck. We're not going to save that because I did prefer my other version better. That's my take on the deck. You do whatever you want with it, as I've said in pretty much all of my videos up until now, because that's the game. You do whatever you want with it. It is a game at the end of the day. But yes, that's all I've got to say on the topic then, so I'll see you all later.